Eddie was a changed man. After a 10-year sentence for armed robbery, he emerged from prison with a newfound purpose: to give back to the community he once terrorized. So he returned to the city, to the rough neighborhood of his youth. He started working at the old cathedral on Bishop Street, which had long been a beacon of hope for the struggling community. His days were spent cleaning the pews, helping the old priest, Father McCarthy, and, in his own way, seeking redemption. Eddie's nights, however, were haunted. Walking down Bishop Street after sundown, he began seeing a phantom, a spectral woman in Victorian clothing, her face obscured by a mourning veil. She'd appear at midnight and vanish at the first hint of dawn. Eddie tried to ignore these apparitions, but as days turned into weeks, her presence grew more palpable. He could hear her whispers, snippets of a forgotten tragedy, pleas for help, cries of a lost soul. Fear gave way to curiosity. Who was she? What was her connection to Bishop Street? Eddie found himself delving into the neighborhood's history, poring over old newspapers and seeking out the oldest residents. He discovered a tragic tale from the late 1800s, that of Amelia Thompson, a young woman known for her charity work. She had devoted her life to the cathedral and the community. One winter night, her life was cruelly cut short during a home invasion. Her murder sent shockwaves through the community, but despite efforts to find the culprit, justice was never served. Eddie was certain that the phantom was Amelia. Haunted by her unsolved murder, he found himself consumed with the need to help her. He spoke to Father McCarthy about the apparitions. Though initially skeptical, the old priest noticed Eddie's conviction and agreed to help. Father McCarthy opened the cathedral's old records, revealing a forgotten confession from a dying man, a transient who confessed to a gruesome crime that matched Amelia's murder. However, due to lack of evidence and the man's death shortly after, the confession was dismissed, and Amelia's case remained cold. With this new information, Eddie felt a rush of determination. He visited Amelia's phantom every night, assuring her that he would help her find peace. Eddie, along with Father McCarthy, convinced the local police to reopen Amelia's case. They followed the clues from the old man's confession and found Amelia's stolen locket buried in the cathedral grounds, providing the crucial evidence needed to confirm the transient man's guilt. This revelation sent ripples through the community. The local newspapers ran the story, finally giving Amelia's tale the closure it deserved. The city collectively mourned for the long-gone heroine, and a memorial service was held in her honor at the cathedral. That night, as Eddie walked down Bishop Street, he felt a change. The oppressive air had lifted, replaced by an almost peaceful silence. As the clock struck midnight, Amelia's phantom appeared one last time. She looked at Eddie, and for the first time, he saw her face, serene and beautiful. She mouthed a silent "thank you" before fading into the night. The phantom of Bishop Street was never seen again. Eddie continued his work at the cathedral, his experience with Amelia further fueling his desire to serve his community. His nights were no longer haunted, but he often found himself strolling down Bishop Street, a silent tribute to the phantom who had guided him on his path to redemption. The story of Amelia's phantom became a local legend, a tale of an unresolved past reaching out to the present for justice. Eddie, once a pariah, became an unexpected hero, proving that redemption was possible even in the darkest corners of life. Amelia's memory was finally at peace, and Bishop Street no longer echoed with her sorrow. Instead, it whispered a story of justice and redemption, a story that would be remembered for generations to come. In the heart of the city, nestled in a nondescript alley, was Mr. Gray's Puppet Theater. It was an ancient building sagging under the weight of time, its once vibrant hues faded into monotonous gray, much like its owner. Mr. Gray was a retired puppeteer living a quiet, solitary life. Once a celebrated performer, age and a tragic personal loss had turned him into a recluse. His only companions were his marionettes, each skillfully crafted, each resembling someone from the neighborhood. Mr. Gray's puppet shows were a rare occurrence, usually performed during community gatherings or festivals. Children would gather around, their faces lit with anticipation, while adults watched from a distance, a nostalgic smile gracing their faces. However, there were whispers, stories passed down in hushed tones. It was said that Mr. Gray's marionettes held an uncanny power. They could predict and influence the fate of the person they resembled. Frank, the local butcher, had scoffed at this story until a puppet resembling him tripped and broke its leg during a show. The next day, Frank slipped in his shop, breaking his leg in an eerily similar manner. Since then, the community viewed Mr. Gray's puppet shows with a blend of fascination and dread. One day, a puppet resembling Mrs. Davis, the community's much-loved school teacher, suddenly stopped mid-performance. Despite Mr. Gray's attempts, it wouldn't move. A week later, Mrs. Davis was diagnosed with a sudden illness that left her bedridden. The community was thrown into turmoil. Questions were raised about Mr. Gray's power, and fear rippled through the neighborhood. Some called him a sorcerer, others a prophet of doom. The puppet theater was shunned, and Mr. Gray was left alone with his marionettes. However, in the midst of all the fear, a young girl named Lucy saw something else. She saw the sorrow in Mr. Gray's eyes, the heaviness with which he handled his marionettes. To her, they were not instruments of fate, but pieces of art burdened with a power they never asked for. Lucy began visiting Mr. Gray, bringing him meals and spending hours watching him work on his marionettes. She saw the love and dedication he poured into each puppet, the subtle way he captured the essence of each person they resembled. One day, Mr. Gray revealed a marionette resembling Lucy. It was a delicate creation, capturing Lucy's spirit in its tiny frame. Filled with excitement and apprehension, Lucy watched as Mr. Gray maneuvered the marionette during a private show. The puppet danced, stumbled, got up, and danced again. It was an enchanting performance, mirroring Lucy's own struggles and dreams. Watching the puppet's performance, Lucy felt a strange sense of clarity about her own life. Days turned into weeks, and Lucy's life began reflecting the puppet's performance. She faced struggles, stumbled, but always got back up stronger than before. The puppet hadn't controlled her life, but had instead shown her a way to navigate it. The community started noticing the change in Lucy. She shared her experience, explaining how Mr. Gray's puppets were not mystical entities, but symbolic reflections of their own lives. The neighborhood slowly let go of their fear, seeing the puppet shows in a new light. Mr. Gray's puppet theater saw a revival. The puppet shows were no longer events filled with dread, but occasions of introspection and community bonding. Mr. Gray, once an outcast, became a revered figure, his marionettes acknowledged as mirrors of the community's collective life. Lucy, with her unwavering belief, had changed the narrative of Mr. Gray's puppet shows. They were no longer tales of inexplicable fate, but stories of resilience, dreams, and the human spirit. And Mr. Gray's puppet theater, once a symbol of fear, turned into a beacon of hope and understanding in the heart of the city. The city's main overpass was a place most avoided after sunset. Yet one figure made it his home, a homeless man named Jake, known for his cryptic ramblings and the eclectic items that surrounded him. People would hurry past Jake, dismissing his words as the mumblings of an insane man. However, Jake's ramblings were not as random as they seemed. He would often speak of impending calamities, storms, accidents, fires, events that hadn't happened yet. One day, Jake's words took a chilling turn. He warned of a terrible earthquake, one that would leave the city in ruins. His words echoed under the overpass, mostly ignored or met with skeptical chuckles, except for a young journalist, Mia, who was intrigued. She saw a story in Jake, a human interest piece that could provide a fresh perspective. She started visiting Jake, recording his ramblings, trying to decipher his cryptic predictions. Over the next few days, Jake's warnings about the earthquake became more frantic. He described vivid images of destruction and chaos, his words painting a horrifying picture of the future. Meanwhile, Mia started noticing a pattern in Jake's previous predictions. They were oddly accurate. A small fire in the Eastern District, a car accident on Baker Street, a sudden hailstorm. She couldn't shake off the feeling that Jake's earthquake prediction might not be just a delusion. Despite skepticism from her colleagues and superiors, Mia published a piece about Jake, including his ominous prediction. The story was met with mixed reactions. Some dismissed it as sensationalism, while others felt a creeping sense of unease. Days passed, and Jake's warnings grew even more urgent. He spoke of the earthquake as if it was imminent, his words echoing ominously under the overpass. Mia's story had stirred up the city's attention, and people started visiting the overpass, witnessing Jake's predictions firsthand. And then it happened. A low rumble shook the city, quickly escalating into a full-blown earthquake. Buildings trembled, streets cracked, panic swept through the city. The earthquake Jake had predicted had come to pass. When the dust settled, the city was in ruins. But thanks to Jake's warnings and Mia's story, many had prepared for the worst, resulting in fewer casualties than expected. Jake, under his overpass, had survived the quake. His ramblings finally understood, his foresight finally acknowledged. In the aftermath, Jake became a local legend, the oracle under the overpass. People no longer dismissed his words. Instead, they sought his wisdom, hoping to prepare for future calamities. Mia's journalistic instincts had not only brought Jake's unique abilities to light, but had also saved countless lives. She continued to document Jake's predictions, helping the city navigate its recovery and preparing it for any future disasters. Jake and Mia's story echoed through the city, a tale of prophecy, resilience, and the power of belief. Under the overpass, Jake continued his ramblings, his words no longer lost to the wind but listened to with reverence, his cryptic warnings serving as a beacon of caution in a city rebuilding itself from ruins. The city was a vast orchestra with its sounds, rhythms, and melodies, and within its heart was a harmony that echoed through the years, the lost melody of Parker Avenue. Parker Avenue was a bustling street in the city, known for its vibrant music scene. The city's finest musicians gathered here, and the air was always filled with a symphony of sounds. The street's crown jewel was the Old Rose Jazz Club, known for its soulful performances. According to legend, decades ago, an anonymous pianist played a melody at the Old Rose that was so beautiful, so captivating, that it entranced the entire avenue. The melody, however, was played only once and was never heard again. The lost melody of Parker Avenue became a local legend, a symbol of the city's cultural heritage, and an inspiration for many musicians. In the present day, a young jazz pianist named Sammy was captivated by this legend. Raised in the city's suburbs, Sammy had been enthralled by the music scene on Parker Avenue. The tale of the lost melody had particularly fascinated him, becoming an obsession that guided his musical journey. Sammy spent years trying to recreate the lost melody. He combed through the city's archives, interviewed the oldest inhabitants, and spent countless nights playing at the Old Rose, hoping to stumble upon the elusive melody. However, as the years passed, Sammy's obsession took a toll on his personal life. His relationship strained, gigs became sporadic, and his once promising music career started to fade. One night, in a state of desolation, Sammy found himself walking down Parker Avenue. As he passed by the Old Rose, he heard a faint, unfamiliar tune. Drawn by its haunting beauty, Sammy followed the sound, finding himself in front of a derelict building. Inside was an elderly woman named Clara, a former jazz singer who had known the anonymous pianist. Clara revealed that the lost melody wasn't just a tune. It was a story, a musical representation of the city's spirit, a harmony that resonated with the city's past and its aspirations. Sammy, with Clara's guidance, started understanding the lost melody's essence. He rediscovered his love for music, realizing that it wasn't about chasing a legend, but about capturing life's complexities and beauty. Inspired and renewed, Sammy returned to the Old Rose. As he played the piano, the lost melody started forming, notes flowing like a river, capturing the city's spirit. The melody once lost echoed through the avenue, captivating its listeners just as it had decades ago. News of the lost melody's return spread, bringing the city's inhabitants to Parker Avenue. Sammy's performance was met with overwhelming praise, his passion and dedication reigniting the city's love for its musical heritage. Sammy's life took a turn for the better. His relationship mended, he got more gigs, and his music career saw a resurgence. More importantly, he found a deeper connection with his city and his music, no longer lost in an obsessive pursuit but grounded in the present, just like the melody he had revived. The lost melody of Parker Avenue, once a legend, became the city's anthem, played on every corner, its notes resonating with the city's heartbeat. Sammy, once a struggling musician, became a city icon, His story a testament to the transformative power of music, passion, and perseverance. And so the lost melody was no longer lost. It flowed through Parker Avenue, a timeless harmony that narrated the city's story, an echo of its past, and a melody for its future.
Hey everyone, welcome to our channel. We're so excited to have you here and share our content with you. If you're new here, make sure to click that subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and we can't wait to see you in the next video.